Sony man, what has Sony got planned? Hey, we're talking about Sony Spider-Man plans today on Marvel Movie News because there is rumors that they've got a brand new movie set for 2021. What could it be, and how is it going to tie into Morbius, which is looking more and more like it might be part of Sam Raimi's universe? What does that mean? Let's talk about it all today on Marvel Movie News.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Marvel Movie News.
Hey, Marvelites, welcome back to Marvel Movie News. We are coming to you live from the offices of the Daily Bugle, which is actually the most appropriate one that we've ever come from because it's a newsroom.
So. Yeah.
And we're technically a newsroom.
Yeah.
Stretching
toe the line.
Stretching the definition of news, but it's in our title.
Is still alive. It's great. Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I mean, is he in the Daily Bugle? Sure.
Well, I guess that's all depends. Yeah. What universe are we in? And we're asking that question a lot today because we've got some more set photos from Morbius that are just like raising more questions than they've answered. And then, oh boy, what else is going on? We've got this Sony Marvel movie that have just been leaked out for October of 2021, but we don't know what it is. There's some possibilities and some rumors about that. We're going to talk about that, plus some Loki news and some other stuff. It's Marvel. We got Marvel. But who are we talking about Marvel all the time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's important. I'm Zach Wilson.
I'm Xia Anderson. Hi.
And I'm Christian Bladt, and we're here talking Marvel with you, everybody in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on you, so if you say anything inappropriate, watch out. No, it's good to see everybody.
The band Mjolnir will come down on you.
Did you say the band Mjolnir?
The band Mjolnir? Like the band hammer.
Yeah.
But
I, for some reason,
Mjolnir.
thought you said the band, and I was like, that'd be cool. What band is that? Do they dress as Thor?
That's Zach and my band that we all dress as Thor. We play on weekends.
I like that.
I wear the Beta Ray Bill mask behind the drum kit, but we're not ready yet.
I wear a Thor helmet and I play the didgeridoo.
Yeah.
That sounds like an interesting band.
It's the only two instruments, and there's no singer. It's just a didgeridoo and a drum.
Yep.
Okay.
It's kind of great.
A single drum.
One drum. This is sounding worse and worse as time goes on.
Fair.
But yeah, we're going to get through all of everything. Please let us know what you think in the chat. And Christian's got an eye on you.
I do.
We're going to see what comes up. Thank you to Colpado, who's helping us out on Twitter from the Starjammer. And we got Mr. Fantastic Ryan in the booth.
Fresh off Ships in the Night.
Oh, that's right. I was going to plug that at the end. But yeah, I had Ryan on my podcast, Ships in the Night, and we got weird about some cross-fiction romances. We didn't do any Marvel ships but we did a DC one.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because of Birds of Prey.
And Right Guy.
We did Harley Quinn and Krusty the Clown. What would happen if they hooked up?
That's an interesting one.
Ship in the Clowns was
I ship them.
Yeah.
I do. That's actually
it's
not
an
a bad...
interesting story.
Yeah.
You should check it out on Ships in the Night. But we're talking Marvel today. Let's start off with our lead story for the week, which is some stuff posted on Twitter and some rumors that leaked out. I don't believe it's been officially confirmed, but apparently Sony has set a date for another Marvel movie, a Sony Marvel movie, which remember is a nebulous zone right now because we don't know if that's MCU or not. But it is set for October 8th, 2021, which is next year, which is very quick turnaround, considering that means they have to start shooting this year probably, or the earliest January of next year, or at the latest January of next year. No word on what it could be, but what do you guys... I guess we talked about Kraven as a potential solo film last week, and there's that. There's also some rumors about Spider-Woman taking that spot, and there's been obviously a number of rumored things that Sony has in development with their Spider-Man miniverse.
Spider-Ham.
And keep in mind, this
That'd be
does
such a
not
weird live-action thing.
include the Spider-Verse sequels.
Right.
This is a live-action team-up in theory.
So
what do you guys think?
Oh, gosh.
Let me just put it out into the stratosphere. I think it's a movie we've all been waiting for. May Parker, the second Avenger. I'll take my answer. What? It's a great idea.
May Parker?
Starring Marissa Tomei, of course.
I mean...
No, of course not. I think the Spider-Woman makes a lot of sense. But I think it's too soon for Sinister Six. I think they need to build that world a little bit more.
I agree.
I think that we might see them nudge a little bit. I mean, judging from that trailer for Morbius, we might get a little bit of, advance a little bit towards it, maybe Venom 2. But yeah, I feel like that's too soon for Sinister Six. So I feel like it would be something smaller than that. Spider-Woman makes sense because you don't need to introduce her anywhere other than in that movie. So I'm going to put all my chips in on Jessica Drew, a.k.a. Spider-Woman.
Okay. I mean, Xia?
Yeah, I was going to say, I honestly kind of have to agree. It makes the most sense. It's sort of in line with what's been going on. And I don't know, like, what other characters they'd really want to bring in right now.
Yeah. And I remember when I was reading the announcement earlier in the week, it's like a Marvel / Sony, one of those co-productions. And the character of Jessica Drew is one of those interesting ones because Disney Marvel has the rights to her as a secret agent, but not any of the spider powers and not the Spider-Woman costume.
Interesting.
So if they want to use the character and use her well and introduce her in a way where she could exist in both of these film series, they should work together. They also don't need to, though. I mean, look, we had 2 Quicksilvers, I mean, you certainly don't have to play nice if you don't want to. But I feel like if we are going to get Jessica Drew in a Spider-Woman movie, I think they would very much want to be able to use her in maybe not even Phase 4 movies, but definitely down the road. They would want to use her, even if they want to use her without her powers sort of that far along. So I think there's a lot of ways that makes sense to have a Spider-Woman movie.
I mean, look, Sword is on the table at this point, and Jessica Drew has been a part of that storyline at certain points. Like, I could see her being a spy in this Sword world where they have, and she's especially a part of the Secret Invasion storyline, which there's different rumors of, like, do we get Secret Invasion soon? The rumor before, because I don't think it's Spider-Woman, but the rumor attached to the Spider-Woman development story is that it would involve, and this is like fresh out today, that Michelle MacLaren is on board to direct. Michelle MacLaren, who has directed all manner of high-budget TV. We've talked about her before, including Game of Thrones, Better Call Saul. You've got the Westworld. Like her list goes on and on. She's a great director.
She can bring a lot to the project. That'd be really cool.
She was on board Wonder Woman before creative differences led to a split, and then Patty Jenkins took over the project.
I just love the creative differences. I just want to know what that is. I always just want to know what it is.
It's probably like I think it really is creative differences, but they always be like, so we're just like, it's not working out, so we're gonna. But it's like, it's not working out in that way that, like, when you have a breakup where you're just like, we're just 2 different people and we're gonna go our own ways. But in reality, that was like, I hate you. Why don't you get out of here? Just take your ideas and get out. I don't want to ever see your face again.
Yeah, these firing of directors are basically Marriage Story. That's how you really have to look at them.
Pretty much. Yeah. Like the most amicable one that I've ever seen seems to be Scott Derrickson in Doctor Strange 2, because he's even like tweeting about like, Sam Raimi's a great choice. Like, so that seems like the most where he was just like, you know what, you guys clearly want to make your movie. I don't want to make that movie. So like, let's just chill.
Yeah.
Like he
which is the right choice to make, because otherwise you're compromising your work or you're doing something that you don't want to do. It's not going to be great. Your heart's not in it. Like, it's just step away.
Yeah, and we'll get into Doctor Strange 2 in a little bit, but where was I? Lost my place. Yes, Spider-Woman.
Yes.
So the rumors that Michelle MacLaren would be on board to direct, and then Alicia Vikander.
I always thought it was Vikander, but I
always thought it
have
was Vikander,
no
yeah.
idea.
You get to say Swedish accent. That's German.
Sorry, just go with it.
Yeah.
If I
Sweden,
try to go Swedish, I'm just gonna do Swedish Chef.
Yes.
There you go.
Dirty Vikander. Alicia Vikander. But so supposedly Alicia Vikander, who you may have most recently recognized as the new Lara Croft in 2018's Tomb Raider, is up for Jessica Drew. Which I think is good casting.
Looks, sure. I haven't seen her in anything, so I actually don't know. I didn't see the new Tomb Raider movie. because it did. I don't know. I just didn't love it.
I mean, that's where she has the most honest way. She's been in plenty of other movies, but like she obviously
Yeah. I
haven't
is
seen
the
her in
lead character in
anything,
that.
so I
She was
wanna-
good. I thought she was great in that
Yeah?
movie. That movie has its own issues, but I thought she was really good.
No, and
Yeah,
it's somebody,
I mean, I did not watch it because of her. It was
it's
just 'cause
somebody
of the movie
comfortable
going
with
on.
action sequences. I mean, I always think that, that's what you're looking for. You don't want to get that. And Kame Egan in the chat is wondering who he would cast as Spider-Woman. So say it's not Alicia Vikander. Does somebody come to mind? And I've been trying to come up with somebody, but the physicality and sort of being able to fight. I mean, I guess when you think about Peter Parker, none of them have been that. I mean, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield,
Good
and
point.
Tom Holland. None of them, do you look at those actors before they're ever Spider-Man and be like, well, they definitely fight and be a superhero.
But that's the point of Peter Parker.
But I think for her, you need it. So
Yeah.
it's not, it's a lot harder to think of somebody, and I'm trying to think of like villains from James Bond movies or Mission Impossible, and nobody's coming to mind immediately. But let us know
know,
in
I'm
the
really
chat.
trying to think
Let us know in
about
the chat
that.
who you're thinking of.
Yeah, please help us out so we don't.
And-
Just spend we spend the rest of the show just sitting here like this.
Senor Nerd wants to know if we think that the mystery project could be the Black Cat Silver Sable. I guess Silver Sable, I think, and Black Cat were separate. I
they
don't think
were
those
they were separate
Yeah.
projects.
about either of those.
It could be. My understanding is that both of those projects have been shelved.
Yes,
and
that's
like
my
yes,
understanding.
they could be getting brought up like out of the wreck. But I think with Sony potentially getting Spidey back, I think you save Black Cat for a Spider-Man story. Because like again, I just don't think Felicia Hardy. But I've said this about all of the villains that like I think that she's better off like being like having a strong B story in a Spider-Man flick.
Yeah.
I think actually Felicia Hardy and Spider-Man having a romance once he gets to college is a great time to bring her in.
Yeah.
Especially if like by the time you get to the fourth movie where he and MJ have been dating for two films, or a film and a half at that point. That's exactly when you bring in like a Spider-Man love interest versus a Peter Parker love interest.
Well, yeah,
and, like, get to
that's
play
what I was
that
going to say. Is I
duality.
hope that they maintain the notion that Felicia Hardy is not at all interested in Peter Parker.
But she
Yeah.
loves
Loves her some
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, but it's like put the mask back.
But
on.
that's why it's
Yeah.
that's why
No,
it's so
that's what I- yeah.
perfect. Is
That's
like
amazing.
the next movie, like he just dates MJ and they do whatever they're gonna do, and like it's more about them hunting down this Peter
They were
Parker.
going to say something else.
But although I guess it gets,
Sorry.
come on, Zia.
Get your mind out of the trash.
I live in the trash.
That's true. Anyway,
Let's go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
Oh my god.
so bringing Felicia onto the scene.
Although I guess it changes a lot if everyone knows who Spider-Man is.
Good point.
But look, that's for the writers to deal with.
So you don't think that Mephisto is going to make everyone forget that
You beat
Peter Parker is
you beat me
Spider-Man?
to the joke.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, look, you got Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Two
it's not gonna be
coming
that
up.
hard.
Like literally anything could happen.
I wonder what Mephisto's kink is.
Well, he likes to watch, obviously, because he can see everything.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Mr.
It's not
Fantastic.
where I was going with that, but cool.
It's probably torture. Let's be perfectly honest
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
He's,
fair.
he's
Very
heavy
fair.
into that world. I'm not insulting Mephisto. He's the literal devil.
Yeah.
That's
Torture
what he
sound
does.
But that was torture.
Torturous.
I see.
That was being
Torturous.
torture.
Emma Watson is Spider-Man
Yeah,
and Kevin
that
Egan?
just popped up.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
don't-
going to lie. I don't hate that.
I don't hate it. I
Byron
don't
Broomhead also
love
said
it.
Florence Pugh, who's another person that I know people really love right now, but I haven't seen
But
her in
she's
anything.
going to be in Black Widow.
I know. I'll see her in that.
Yeah,
But
so-
no, so I can't imagine her being Spider-Woman.
Ah,
That's why I
gotcha.
say that.
That's-
Yeah,
making
I mean,
sense.
look, people do double duty a little bit, but that's way too like front facing.
Yeah,
to
And look, I don't want to be unkind. People are suggesting Eliza Dushku. She's 39. I looked it up. I don't have a problem with that, but I think a studio's not going to hire a 39-year-old actress to start a franchise.
depends. That's probably fair.
Yeah.
but it depends on the version of Spider-Woman.
Yeah,
you're gonna do.
because if
you
she
do
loses
the-
her powers in this movie and then becomes Secret Agent Jessica Drew, then absolutely. I don't think she's a bad choice. I just think she's they would look younger. Let's put it
Eliza
that way.
Dushku
she
in the
looks
Buffy years
pretty
would be
great,
like- Yeah.
though. Is that her now?
impossible to say.
39.
It's true. That could be a picture from 20 years ago. And you
It's
wouldn't
true.
know.
You would never know.
I think she would have been a good choice definitely a while ago, but you could do a more recent, like the storyline where Jessica Drew is pregnant and like dealing with all of that. Like that's a good
point.
You get a 39-year-old as douche.
People like the idea of Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black.
And Langley Neely has to say, no, I said an Eliza Dushku type. He has to.
Well, he's not the only one who mentioned it. So,
There were others.
The girl from Sabrina, Kiernan, I can't remember her last name. Yeah. Shipka or whatever. Yeah, from Mad Men.
I like that. I really love her in Sabrina.
Yeah,
I don't say, but she doesn't. She's not physically imposing, and Spider-Woman
You're
has
right.
like more
She's
of an
not.
imposing.
She's very tiny.
What
yeah,
about
and it's not that you can't like bring that capacity to the role, but I think Spider-Woman has an air of being like. She's intimidating when she walks into a room, like or not necessarily intimidating, but like
You feel
she
her
has a strong presence in the room.
To be fair, in Sabrina, she does have a very strong presence. Not physically, but
it's more like
attitude-wise.
she manages to do that in spite of her appearance, and that's that character. That character is powerful despite how she looks,
Right.
Which is great, and that's exactly what that role is supposed to be. But I don't know that it translates the same way for Jessica Drew, who is very self-confident and like pushing everything
Imposing.
forward. Yeah.
We're getting some great suggestions. I'll just put two more in before we move on. Daisy Ridley and Evan Rachel Wood. So
like that.
these are
I
all.
feel like there's a lot of people. I need to know, just because Langley Neely said it really big. Tatiana Maslany.
That's who I said before from Orphan Black.
Maslany.
Oh, Orphan Black.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And she'd
never seen her.
be great. She obviously is a phenomenal actress, and she's got to find her next role. Why not get Marvel or Sony, I guess, to be like, hey, come over here.
Step into my web.
And again, here's the reason I don't think it's Spider-Woman. As we talk about all of these Spider-Woman possibilities, Spider-Man 3, Home for Hanukkah, is scheduled now for July next year, July 2021, and this would be October 2021. And I don't think Sony is going to want to double up on Spider titled properties that quickly.
Well, I
Like you're
think that,
barely getting Spider-Man out of theaters, and then Spider-Woman pops up.
Yeah, and I think that would also make the partnership with Marvel a little nervous as well, because who knows what movie they plan to have actual Spider-Man show up in next. So maybe they do want to have something without Spider in the title that soon. So yeah, I could understand that.
It could be now another possibility, in that it's sort of a similar thing, but there's the rumor that Silk is being developed. Which would fit a lot of these pieces, and I could see Silk being someone that they bring forward.
There was the idea that Silk could be introduced in Venom 2.
I had not heard that,
but
I
thought
like
I had
it.
heard that. Yeah, so
I like it. It's
remember hearing that either.
interesting. That's interesting.
I did the news
Her
that day.
her comic. I mean, you could shift her comic book origin to almost anything.
Of course.
It doesn't have to be like the same spider that bit Peter Parker crawls away and bites one other person before it dies, which is her comic book story. And then she's hidden away from the world in a vault for 40, 50 years.
Jeez Louise.
It was to protect us from the interdimensional vampires.
Oh, well, when you put
Yeah.
it that way, it makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm
This
always.
is comic. That's all in the comics, guys. I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a bunch of possibilities. It could be another villain one-shot movie. Seems the most likely to me. If it is Kraven the Hunter, that seems like a good thing. It could even introduce him over the summer in
cool.
Spider-Man, and then instantly drop his solo films so that you're doing them back to back, and you're like, oh, do you want more of that character you just met a little bit of? Here's a whole movie.
I like
Or
that.
my theory, Paste Pot Pete, the untold story.
That's definitely.
I've
who
been
we're
waiting
getting.
for that
Dude,
for-
what if they started actually pulling out random obscure characters like that, and they're just like, yeah, here, Paste Pot Pete, and everybody's like, what the is this?
As the lead in the movie.
That would be kind of amazing.
I
have no
want them
problem
to
with
put
that.
those characters into random
Yeah.
things. I mean, look, you've seen a little bit of it. I want to look if you watch the DC animated Harley Quinn right
Yeah.
now, they bring in everyone from Calendar Man to Kite Man.
Oh, that's amazing.
With Shark Guy. I'm not as quick on my DC.
Shark Guy?
Don't
villains.
look down the side of the desk. I can't help. Sorry. It's not
there's
my
there's
world.
there's a guy that looks like a shark in the Batman.
We'll just call him
Rogues Gallery.
Jabberjaw from
Oh,
Hanna-Barbera.
I think they did that in a
Shark?
Flash
What is it?
episode.
King Shark?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that in a Flash episode, right?
Yeah.
See, I
yeah.
thought
But
it
he's-
was the most vile shark villain of all, Baby Shark, but that shows what I
Oh
know.
my god! But like they take his character and they just make him something completely unexpected in that show, and it's one of my favorite parts of that program. Anyway, I'm saying you can do that with
Sorry,
characters,
Ryan has a
not that
picture
version.
of
That is
King
not
Shark for those watching on
That's
YouTube.
not the version that I fell in love with.
I was thinking of the one they actually had him in a tank of water, but like, didn't he get? I'm trying to remember. It was a long time ago
Well,
that I saw that
Either
episode.
we're way
No,
off
but
track
in
here.
terms of minor characters, I mean, Jessica Drew, what it was Jessica Jones season 2, they had Whizzer, and I like when some of these smaller characters
Yeah,
show up
yeah.
in that way.
That's
Kinda
fun.
So
Pace
if
Pot Pete?
Pace Pot Pete ever shows up like that, I'll be like, this is a great movie.
They had hints of Stiltman in Daredevil.
There you go.
Like they had his stilts in the background
Yeah.
because they could. Anyway, so I think it is, and also I think Sony is really wants to get that Sinister Six movie going, and they
They've been
got to get
trying.
another villain in. Because so right now, in as far as like here their rogues gallery, if they're building this like separate Sinister Six universe, they've got Venom, Morbius, Vulture,
Yes.
Carnage potentially because
Potentially.
he's coming up. So that's like 4. If you get Craven in, and then whoever you're gonna get it in the next Spider-Man movie, that's your 6 with that October 2021 movie. So you can get there with the movies on the slate, assuming you want Carnage in the mix and all that stuff. But I mean, you can also bring it 2 at once if you bring like Scorpion in, who's already been introduced in Far From Home, or not Far From Home, but he was introduced in Homecoming.
And don't forget, Shocker's still out there.
That's true. That's true.
The first one died, but then the other guy's Shocker, and we haven't done anything with him, so he could always make an appearance. He would be,
Although he'd be a weird choice for the
Weird
Sinister
choice,
Six.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I want Sandman. I want Doc
yeah.
Ock. I mean, I want the A list.
That's the thing. To do a Sinister Six without Doc Ock or Green Goblin feels very odd.
Do you think they'll introduce those characters again if they do that before they bring them in, or is that just gonna be something where they're like, they're just here?
Well, they
Sinister Six, we're doing it.
tried. They tried to do it in Amazing Spider-Man 2,
Right.
where they had Harry Osborn, and then they
had Chris Cooper cast as Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were ready. I mean, they were
and
ready.
they showed off They showed off Doc Ock's arms in that one sequence, but
But they just never, obviously.
But then the movies blew
And
up.
you had B.J. Novak as Alistair Smythe. You had a lot. They were planting a lot of seeds for movies that never happened because that movie only made $500 million.
Planting seeds. They were throwing the
that's
seeds
it?
at your
$500
face.
Yeah, it wasn't enough. I mean, for a Marvel adjacent property, it literally wasn't enough.
Well,
for
it was
them.
then we got the Sony leak,
Yeah.
which led to the Sony higher ups being like, "Wait, we could be part of the Disney Marvel universe, and we're not. What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And that's how we got to where we are today. Anyway, so moving not too far, but while we're talking about these one-off villain movies, I want to talk about Morbius a little
Yeah.
bit because we had another set photo leak this week of a bus. A bunch of people caught this. I even caught some people that like friends that were just like nearby or like walking out of their place. They're like, "Hey, look at this snap!" And what you got was a bus ad that says, "Where is Spider-Man?" And that's interesting enough that there's like more spider stuff in the
Yeah.
background. And where is Spider-Man? Clearly, again, it's tying to a potential like thing at the end of Far From Home where
Yeah.
Peter Parker probably has to go on the run.
Yeah.
And they do know at this point what that movie is going to be because it's coming out in a year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Very soon.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow.
July 2021.
Oh my god, that's so exciting. Look at that.
But so you have Where's Spider-Man? But what's more interesting, and it's really really small, so you can't quite see it from here, but it has the Daily Bugle, like it's like get your news at the Daily Bugle, and it is the Daily Bugle logo from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Yes, I have seen that reported that way. It's the actual Daily Bugle Bugle logo. So yes, as included in the Sam Raimi movies, but it's also the way it appears in the comics.
But the reason that I say that, it is specifically not the one that we saw in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right, the dailybugle.net.
Yeah.
It is definitely not that logo.
That
yes.
so this is like, so maybe we're not in the MCU, but if we are tying to a particular cinematic universe, it would be the Sam Raimi universe. And we've already seen the Sam Raimi costume spray painted on a wall. So follow me down this crazy train of logic where I think Sony is trying to, and like maybe it's even going to come into play with Doctor Strange 2, diving us through the multiverse, setting up a world in which they use the characters interchangeably with Marvel, and they sort of let the casts flow back and forth. And it's, where is Spider-Man? And he's been gone for 20 years, and Tobey Maguire is Spider-Man in this weird side universe.
I mean, look, if I were Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, I also would have hung it up after Spider-Man 3. I would have been like, man, that just did not go well. I am not going to Spider-Man anymore. I'm done Spider-Man. And it's Spider-Man 3 is why I'm like, you know what? I don't need to go back to the Sam Raimi universe. Those first two are great. But it's interesting. And I do like the idea of, you know, certain elements that might come in and out, especially when you start to deal with you know, Spider-Verses and multiverses and things. But I can't imagine we would actually see Tobey Maguire as an older Peter Parker, but it would be fascinating.
Here's the reason I think it's a possibility, because it's a crazy possibility that makes no sense. But Sony and Marvel went back and forth on that deal for a while, trying to figure out what it is, and Sony clearly wants to use Spider-Man in these one-off movies where these they just want to have like Peter Parker pop up and do his thing, but they don't want it. But Kevin Feige isn't willing to let his version of Peter Parker really play that way, because he wants to keep his universe self-contained. So if Sony can say, okay, your movies get Tom Holland, but we're going to keep doing our own thing over here with our characters, and we're going to have Spider-Man show up in our previously established billion-dollar franchise version of Spider-Man, where they don't necessarily need him to be there all the time, but if Tobey Maguire Spider-Man can just show up here and there, and he's this like older, wiser Peter Parker, you can do that, and then eventually get to live-action Spider-Verse.
I mean, I think that look, it's entirely possible, but if you're gonna have a Spider-Man, you don't need to cast Tobey Maguire. You just have Spidey in the suit swing by, you know.
But what I mean is, you can get Tobey Maguire to come in, and he's a draw in and of itself to get you going back. But you don't need him to be doing all the stunts. That's the beauty of Spider-Man. You just need a guy in a costume. And if he's just a sort of a side thing to like tie these universes together until you get to Sinister Six, you get to keep that universe going and building. You get Alfred Molina to come back, and that's like a crazy long game, but I'm weirdly about it, and it would let both of these universes exist separately
by side,
until we get like a Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, and then you bring in like Chris Pine, and
that would be so random.
And what's his name?
Jake.
Well, it's Jake from New Girl, which is how I always think.
Well, his name is Nick on New Girl. The actor
Jake Johnson.
Jake Johnson.
Yeah, there's a lot of names in my head. Jake, Nick, Pete, Peter again.
And don't forget Nicholas Hammond from the 1977 Spider-Man TV series. We need to see him as a very old.
Well, of course.
A very old. Let's just let the chat rain on your parade a little bit.
Oh, come on, chat.
Langley M. Neely, who shares my birthday. Happy birthday. This Raimi Spider-Man multiverse thing is a nonsense theory. And then Chris has the best answer. Some Sony guy just grabbed a stock photo and made that poster. And I just the simplicity of that is like, oh, we're having so much fun talking about it. Chris could be right, by the way.
Probably.
It's still fun to talk about, but it's like, yeah, just be like, oh yeah, I just grabbed that logo. Oh, is that Is that logo not the right one I should have used? Oh, okay. Sorry, guys.
Oh, well, whatever.
But it's funny.
Thunder God Cairo 770 also says, ugh, the continuity for Morbius already sounds like a mess.
That's true.
Well, it only is if they depending on how much they actually bring in outside stuff. Look, we know that the version that was put on the wall, which yes was the Sam Raimi suit, is still specifically from the video game.
Right.
So it's something that Sony had all of the rights to, and by using that costume didn't have to pay out Marvel's people, because as soon as you use a costume you have to pay out those costumers and those designers and those producers, and technically I think you might have to pay Tom Holland at that point, but because they took it from a video game and it's an old suit, they don't have to pay nobody except themselves.
Nice.
So that's the whole thing there. Any other thoughts on
the other thoughts is that these sorts of things are being planted online to get people to talk about a movie that Sony is worried about. There are a few people in the chat who have said that.
Sky Patterson also says it's a cool theory, but how about no? I'm sorry.
It's fine.
So funny.
But
I love that this is the first time I think the chat has heard one of my insane theories and been like, Zach, shut up.
They're just not on board. Yeah, usually they're happy to come with you, and this time they're just like, no. But Jenna gives you credit. It's a Koi-like theory, a Koi genre-like theory.
That is high praise.
Yeah, because it's very convoluted.
Look, I've had these crazy theories. I've been having these crazy theories on the AfterBuzz Popcorn Talk networks ever since season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where I concocted a logical reason why Coulson was secretly Mar-Vell in disguise, and we were going to find out that at the time Skye was actually Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. I proved it at the time.
Oh, at the time. I'm like, wait, you didn't prove it. But yes.
Can I ask a question?
Oh my gosh, look, it's Mr. Fantastic. Ryan in the booth.
I just want to ask these Marvel experts. I have to float something out there, right? You got Sam Raimi doing the Madness in the Multiverse movie.
Hypothetically,
you're not telling me you don't think there's a possibility with a multiverse in the title, that being in the movie, that there's a chance we get a multiverse scene where Tobey Maguire comes on screen as Spider-Man?
Oh. I've been talking about that for 20 minutes.
I think Doctor
Doctor
Strange could crash through Tobey Maguire's apartment in Forest Hill, Queens, where he's still living with that Aunt May. Even though he's in his 40s, but he still lives with Aunt May because why not?
Yeah, of course.
I think that would be a fun little sort of Easter egg thing. I think that would be great, especially if Sam Raimi directs that film. It would be. I don't know. I think that could be a lot of fun. But
also, Koi Jandra just popped in the chat. He heard his name, and now he's in the chat.
No way.
Yeah, he said, "Wait, did somebody say Koi Jandra?"
That's amazing.
It's true, because if you turn out the lights and you stare in the mirror and you say his name 20 times, he shows up behind you.
Koi, you're on my side, right? Sam Raimi Spider-Man is gonna be in the Morbius movies and take over all of the Spider-Verse, the Sony-verse live action heroing.
Koi signal. I love that.
Okay.
All right, so I think these things happens.
If Sam Raimi does direct Doctor Strange 2, I would expect if we get some sort of trippy sequence where we're crashing through different multiverses, I expect that we'll get some kind of wink wink thing at his Spider-Man movies. I would be shocked if there wasn't, but unless there's going to be some bigger plan for those movies, it'll be like one of those things where you just have like a corner of the screen, and if you freeze frame, you can see Tobey Maguire kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see
that.
Like,
it won't be a big piece of it.
Maybe he's having lunch with Lou Ferrigno as Old Hulk. Because why not at that point?
But that's the thing. Like, I could see them doing a bunch of that, but that also is like very DC TV universe, Crisis on Infinite Earth style, where you have Brandon Routh playing two roles in the same episode.
It looked like they were having fun. So.
It was. Like, that was not going wrong. I had a lot of fun watching that thing, but it's also very cheesy, and you don't want to overdo those things. So.
Sorry, then the idea that Doctor Strange goes into the Evil Dead universe, and I'm sorry, whoever said that, it jumped. But I can't give you credit because I.
And look, we could see Bruce Campbell as Mysterio.
Bruce Campbell will definitely be in that movie if Sam Raimi. I don't know who he's gonna play. He'll be in it.
He'll be.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole like that's our lost thing from Spider-Man 4 was that we never got to see Bruce Campbell as Mysterio.
I mean, look, that's the biggest letdown of all.
But speaking of Doctor Strange 2, it has a new writer. And I have more questions on how they're planning to hit this supposed May film date.
There apparently wasn't even a first draft.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there wasn't even
Well,
a first draft written.
Oh, that's not necessarily true. It's just that the writer from the original Doctor Strange, who everyone publicly thought had been hired to write it, he said that it was not true and that he had not written any drafts of Doctor Strange.
Right. So there is a draft of the script, but
Not
Scott
from him
Derrickson,
and
yeah,
Scott
they didn't
Derrickson.
actually get to write. Yeah, because I mean, when you look at the credits for a lot of these movies, you'll see that it's very different. It's not worth getting into, but when it's writer A-N-D, someone, they wrote it together, and then when it's the symbol for end, then that's a rewrite, and then another, so you have to give credit to everybody, but you always give credit to whoever writes the first version. Even if you change everything about the script, they always have to have their name included.
The symbol for and means it was a team.
Yeah,
that those two
I said it
worked
reversed.
together.
Yeah.
If it's spelled out, it means that those are separate.
Yeah.
They did separate passes. They didn't work together. They were separate writing.
Right.
Giving their passes at the.
It's the opposite of what I said.
Yes.
What Zach said.
Yeah. Ampersand implies that they are friendly.
Yes. It does.
Is
imply
what that means. Doesn't necessarily hold up true, but it means they worked together and sat in the same room for a determined period of time. Anyway, so now we have the writer who his last name is Michael Waldron. Is apparently taking over to rewrite the Doctor Strange ship from a draft by Jack Schaefer, who that name sounds familiar. Jack Schaefer is currently the showrunner for WandaVision.
Oh.
And if all of those names sound familiar, it's because Michael Waldron is currently the showrunner for Loki. So all these people very busy.
Yes.
Very, yeah, wow.
Spread the wealth a little bit.
But Michael Waldron is
Don't give all
also...
the jobs to the same three people. There's plenty of other people who could write a Doctor Strange movie.
It also feels very appropriate for him to take over this multiverse thing because
True.
he has written for Rick and Morty.
Well, there you go.
So if anyone's going to take over something with portals and multiple universes, a Rick and Morty writer seems pretty much on the nose.
I'll take your word for it.
Have you not watched Rick and
No,
Morty?
it's been on
we
my
don't have
list for a
time. We don't
while.
have time, Zia.
I know.
God.
It's been on my list for a while.
So that's all we really know
up.
is that there is a new writer on board, and it's a good choice. I'm still confused as to when they're planning to do this movie because it's supposed to come out next year, right?
Yeah.
What's the current release date for Doctor Strange 2?
I believe it's like May 7th, 2021.
Yeah.
think that's what it was.
You are 100% right.
Yeah.
May 7th. So literally, we're talking about a year and 3 months. 15
To
months
get it
from now, this
written.
movie is supposed to be in theaters.
They don't even have a final draft. Oh, good lord, of the script, let alone like started filming.
And we don't know
Or
how
technically
much
a
he's...
Look,
Look, he could be coming on to do like a punch-up pass and do cleanup on
You'd
it.
just be there to
It's
add
like-
jokes.
They could have like 2/3 of it already storyboarded and scripted. It's like who knows even how long Sam Raimi's been on board at this point. Like, and how much they're going to let from Scott Derrickson's plans just carry over and keep going. We don't know. It's all behind the scenes. And these guys at this point, how many movies have they made? Like over 24 of these movies. It's like it's close to a TV show where they make an episode, which keep in mind is 45 minutes of TV. Is they shoot it in a week generally, maybe 2 if it's more complicated.
Yeah.
So they can do it. They can pull it off. And Marvel Studios is practically a factory at this point.
That's true, and they got all the money in the world behind them.
And,
So
and that's usually
that's not going to be an issue.
when we're talking about directors getting fired and replaced. It's usually people that are going to slow down the factory for some reason. It's like, no, we need you on the assembly line making our product so that it comes out on the day it's supposed to. You're making too much trouble. We're going to get somebody else. And I'm not saying that that's this case. I just mean in the past that's been the approach. Like we need people that'll just basically follow orders.
What I'm hoping for, though, my only concern with this is I don't want another Ant-Man on our hands because that Ant-Man changed director hands with a year before filming, I believe. It was pretty close. But even that, it was very obvious that they did not have the time. Like, Peyton Reed did not have the time to reshape the movie in all the ways he wanted to change it.
Right.
And what you got was this sort of stilted half one guy's vision, half another, and it just never quite clicked into place. As much as I love Ant-Man, that first movie has a lot of problems that could have probably, if they'd taken another year, or had the director just had another year that he had been working on it, gotten it smoothed out and made it much better. So I don't want them to rush it just because they announced a date and force through a movie that's not up to snuff.
Would you rather them do what they did with New Mutants?
and just finish the movie and let it sit around for 2 years?
Well, it's not the same thing because
Yeah.
I'm joking.
New Mutants was a movie that they had shot, and then they were going to make some big changes to because they weren't happy with what the director's vision was.
Yeah.
And now we're getting just like the director's vision.
I'm actually excited about that.
Like, who knows? That might end up making it one of the most interesting of the X-Men movies because it hasn't been sort of homogenized by the studio.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see where that comes. We'll have to see where these movies go. But I want to make sure we have time to talk about Loki because depending on how you listen to or watch this podcast, you may or may not have gotten the story that we dropped the ball on last week. If you listen to the podcast, I added an addendum after because we literally went off the air and then went, oh no, we forgot the Owen Wilson story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because it had
Forgot
been
that Owen Wilson's hanging out with Loki. Oh, no.
it had been 6 days at that point since it dropped.
I had done it at the beginning of the week for Marvel News Daily, so I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah,
I
we
just
had-
completely forgot that we hadn't talked about it.
But well, yeah, so I tagged it on an audio post, but the video people just like didn't get that news because
Yeah.
we forgot. But yeah, wow. Owen Wilson, yeah, everybody get out your wows.
Yeah.
Because Owen Wilson is apparently coming to Loki in a major role, and we also got another piece of casting this week, and I am so sorry. Wait, no, Xia had
Zia
to
can
learn how
say
to
it.
pronounce
Go
it. Xia, you
I-
take the blame.
I don't know if this is
No,
right.
it sounds good.
This is the way I read it. It's Gugu Mbatha Ra.
Yeah,
but I don't know
that's
if
it.
that's exactly what it is.
It sounds
but-
great, though.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But she is she is also joining the Loki series in an unknown role. You may have seen her as this is the first place that I remembered from was she was Martha Jones' sister on Doctor Who.
That's so exciting.
Which like she only pops up in a couple episodes here and
Yeah.
there, but like I remember that character.
Yeah,
I
when-
remember
as soon
now
as-
that you told
Yeah, as
me,
soon
but
as
I
you
didn't
said it,
recognize
was
it.
just
I didn't- I had
I
no
didn't
clue.
recognize her, but I'm like, I remember that Martha had a sister for sure.
And she played Kelly in the San Junipero episode of Black Mirror, which is a really good episode of Black Mirror.
She's a series regular on the morning show also.
Oh, I don't
look
have
at that.
Apple. I don't have Apple Plus.
I don't either.
Nah,
I
I
just
don't
know
either.
that from reading about it. And then
Apple TV
also
Plus?
she was in Motherless Brooklyn with Edward Norton, which I
Haven't seen it either.
I haven't seen it either, and I want to see it. But she's like getting a lot of work, so it's cool.
So she's already worked with the Hulk. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
She's already connected to the MCU.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Perfect.
Makes
But
perfect
so
sense.
now, so these two are going to be in Loki. I have no idea who Gugu Mbatha-Raw might be playing. I had some ideas for Owen Wilson. I think he might. Well, I guess I could go with either one of them. When they said major role, I thought he might be part of the agency that we talked about last week, where he's the one who arrests Loki and is like interrogating him throughout the series of the show.
I do like that
I just
idea,
like to
for
see
sure.
Owen Wilson interrogating Tom Hiddleston
Yeah.
as Loki.
Yeah.
That would entertain me.
Yeah.
Also, I would totally buy Owen Wilson after so many Wes Anderson movies with Owen Wilson. I would totally buy him as an interdimensional cop.
Absolutely.
I can see that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Totally.
a great role for him.
What about
like
you?
it.
Do you guys have any other ideas?
I saw someone mention Clea, but obviously that doesn't make sense for Loki. I was like reading it and they were like Clea, and I was like, wait, what? That doesn't. But unless like I don't know, they're gonna work that in somehow.
I mean, look, this is coming out in 2021, pretty close to Multiverse of Madness. So magic could potentially be a big thing. And also, if you're going to seed more characters for Doctor Strange too, because we're already seeding Wanda through WandaVision to go into that movie, who knows?
Yeah, and I'll disagree with Jenna James. It's not going to be a character like Kang or Nightmare. I don't think it's going to be somebody that big for Loki, especially Kang. I don't think Kang is someone that Kang the Conqueror, I don't think that's someone we're going to see in a TV show. I think we're going to see him in a movie, and he's probably the next Thanos level big bad guy that we'll work up to at some point. But when he was younger, he was a Mortis, so maybe the young version of Kang. There's always that possibility.
Yeah, to me, Kang is the best choice for our next Thanos level big bad.
Yeah.
Maybe Doom, but
Galactus.
See, Galactus doesn't work to me because he's too similar to Thanos.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like Galactus is a great threat, but unless you're doing all of his versions fit similarly to Thanos, where
that's
it's
a good
like
point.
destroying the planet, and you need somebody who's not about destroying the planet, but is going to hit on a more personal level. So you either go political with someone like Doctor Doom because he is more about sliding in and like taking over, just like ruling, which is different than Thanos, where he just wanted to snap his fingers, do his thing, and disappear. Or someone like Kang, whose literal only goal is to come in and destroy the Avengers themselves and then get out of there, which is a much more deep interpersonal thing, especially now that Secret Invasion is kind of off the table.
I know we're running low on time. Last comment from the chat. Chris Clark, regardless of who he is playing, he'll pretty much just be Owen Wilson.
That's a great
And that's
point.
the best observation that any of
Yep.
us can have.
Absolutely.
That's why if he's part of the Time Variance Authority,
That's a great-
and he's just like there as he's there as the same person he always is, but he's working for this multi-dimensional force. It could be Owen Wilson who happens to be like the actor Owen Wilson is an agent of the Time Variance Authority, and so he's just here, I'm just here to help you out. I think I made him into a Muppet.
I think you did
just now. But really, isn't he? And that's what the thought that
wrong.
we want to leave you here today
I
with
like
our
that.
Marvel Movie News. Isn't Owen Wilson a Muppet?
Yeah.
Because it's raw, you muppet! Gordon Ramsay used that as he called a chef that as an insult, a muppet. It was amazing.
I think if you look like a Muppet.
I would turn to him, but thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a huge compliment.
Well, hey guys, that's gonna do it. That's all of our time here today on Marvel Movie News. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week with even more news hot off the nerd press. Until then, Christian, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ, and tonight over on AfterBuzz TV at 9 p.m. Pacific on the Star Trek Picard After Show. So please join us there and engage with us in the chat. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm Xia Anderson, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Xia_land. That's XIA_land. Also, go check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/XiaLand. Just Xia_land, no underscore.
And I'm Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson. Be sure to check out my other podcast, Ships in the Night, where we had, as we talked about before, Ryan in the booth there to get weird with us. We also talked about what would happen if Mufasa hooked up with old Deuteronomy from Cats, because that's the kind of world that I like to live in. That's called Ships in the Night. And this has been Marvel Movie News. Thanks for geeking out with us.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of